There are several options when it comes to networking configuration in Docker, and what you choose from these three options depends on the purpose, on the goal that you follow, and there is this option host, which isn't that common in practice, and also overlay network, that's more related to Swarm. And if you use Swarm, Docker will utilize overlay network, and it will do it automatically, so you don't usually care about overlay networks. And the most common one is a bridge network. And let me show you what each of these network does with a simple graphic here. So let's say that you have a host machine in which you run Docker. This is a host, host 1, and host 1 might have a container. Let me start with a bridge network first of all. Let's say we have two running containers, and by default you don't have any connection between the containers because the networks are isolated from each other. And what bridge network allows you to do is simply create a connection, bridge. This is a bridge network, and you'll be able, for instance, to run a pin command from both of them to point another one. And a cool option here is that you can pin with not only with IP address but also with a name, so you can pin, and if we have a name, for instance here we might have app1 and here app2. So if you have app1, app2, you might use like app1 here to pin from second container to the first container. And by default Docker actually uses something called a default bridge network, host 1. If we take a look at default bridge, this is created by default. It exists by default, and Docker manages this network. And what it is this is a network where Docker will place places all the containers. That doesn't specify any other option. So, and a feature of this network is that actually all the containers can communicate with each other only by IP address, using the IP address, and there is no way to communicate by the name. So, and usually you might want to you might prefer using names over IP addresses, because IP addresses might vary from time to time because they are allocated dynamically. On the other hand, name options are provided by you. So with a custom bridge, by custom I mean we created it, we can communicate between the containers with a name. So this is a custom bridge, custom, and this is a default bridge created by default, and I'm gonna show you in a second how it looks. So this is basically a bridge networks, right? And I won't show you overlay because it generally managed by Swarm services. So you create a service, it will use an overlay network to create a communication between several hosts, like you have two computers running, and you have first computer, first machine and second one. You have some containers here, and yeah, overlay networks will allow you to communicate between the containers running on different machines, and this is the main goal for overlay networks. And the last option is a host network, and yeah, this is also might be useful. You have a single machine, and for instance you want to run application like Nginx server on your machine, and well, the basic option is to install the package npm, the package Nginx, I'm sorry, and it will listen on, by default will listen on port 80, and this is one option. And another option will be to run a container with Nginx inside it, and publish port 80 to your own port 80, and you won't be able to distinguish from outside that you're actually running Nginx inside the container, other than as a default application. But you can skip a publish option and instead specify that you are using you're creating a container with a host network, and it means that the network will be transparent, and it basically allows you to do the same thing, to have a same result as if you installed an Nginx application. Nginx will be able to communicate with other with other applications on your local host, like something running on port 3000, for instance. Maybe we have our app running on port 3000, and traffic from outside will be able to call port 80, which Nginx is running by default. So this is a host network. With host network, you don't have any isolation between your container and a local network. So here is 3 options. This is the first. Let's say this option is the first option. Second option. First option is a host. Second option is a bridge. And third option, overlay. So let me show you how it works in practice, and we're gonna start with default bridge network that is created by that should exist on your system, and you can you have several commands to manage your networks, and this is very similar with how we managed volumes in previous video. So you have commands docker network with a list of common commands here. So to inspect what networks we have right now, here is a list. Here is our host network that we provide when running container to have our first situation here, and this is a default bridge network. Default bridge here. This is a network when we can find our containers with IP but not with the name. And also we have a none network that's named none. We actually have this option here, and none will isolate container and it won't the container won't be able to communicate even with containers from default bridge and with nothing. So all traffic is not allowed. Any traffic isn't allowed inside from outside to inside the container, and other way around if you use a non-network. So this is a full isolation. Anyway, here's our bridge network, default bridge, and we want to test this scenario. So let's create, for instance, our app1, app2 here, and try to pin it from one container to another using an IP address and a name. So as an app containers, I'll use an image, Alpine image. Alpine. What Alpine image is? This is very lightweight image. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of time to download this image from Docker Hub, but it provides an option to run sh command, and I'm gonna run it in detach mode to be able to attach and detach continuously several times from it without stopping it. And I also specify a remove option when this command is exited. The container will be removed automatically, and also I need to provide interactive mode flag here to be able to type my commands inside inside this sh session, and also the name flag that creates a first container, and here's my command. So I start a container, and also I'm gonna create a second one, and by default yeah, I haven't specified a network option, but let me explicitly specify it right now. Bridge, and bridge value is a default value, so bridge. Yeah, let me now create several sessions like so. This is the first one, and the second one. So now we can inspect our network with Docker network inspect command. We provide the name of the network, and if you scroll a little bit here, you might find the container section that shows all the containers. Yeah, and here we might from this section we might get the IP address. So let's try to attach to enter our session, our sh session inside the containers. So we have to run in containers. The first one, let's attach, and I am attaching with docker attach command, and then I need to specify the name of the container. Press enter, and now we are inside. And just to show you how to detach from the running container without exiting it, I need to type control, to press control, and then control with combine control with P and then Q. So if I press this combination, I have this mention that read escape sequence was found, and I am back to my local terminal. So let me re-enter container, and here is my yeah, here's a session. I can do anything that I would in my computer here in a default in a basic. This is basically a SSH session, and I can run any Linux command here, any bash command. So now we want to try to beam our app2 And pin command basically tries to reach a domain name or an IP address, and it will give you this output if everything is fine. And also if you type Control C, you'll get a output, the result. So you sent 9 packages and you received all of them. So it means that we can communicate with Google domain and Google IP address here. So the same thing, we expect the same thing from pinning our second container. Let me first do it with IP address. Here's my IP address, and here's I'm pinning a second container. Everything is everything fine here. And to show you how failed try looks, let's specify some unexisting IP address like that. And you see we pin IP address and haven't yet received any response from it. So we sent 13 packages and none was received as a result. So we don't have this IP address in our network. On the other hand, we were able to successfully communicate with our second container here. But if we change IP address to a container name, we won't be able to, because we don't have any mappings from the name of the container to IP address. And this is basically why you might want to create a custom bridge, because a default bridge by default does not provide the option to communicate by the container names. So now let's move to our second scenario with custom bridge network. And to do that, I first gonna kill all the containers running. Docker ps -aq. It's gonna stop both of my containers, and because I specify -rm option, they were automatically removed as well. So for the second scenario here, I'm gonna create a custom bridge network, and I do it with docker network create command. And as a driver option, I provide a bridge, but this is default value, so I don't need to provide it. I can skip it, and then I specify the name. The name will be, let's say, custom net, and it should now show a network, this network in the list of all the networks. Here's our custom net, and the driver is a bridge, and scope is local. So now you might create a container with the same command, but also this is a run command. Okay, let's type the command one more time. We use detached mode, we use interactive mode, we use rm flag, and now we also specify a network, custom net, and we need to run Alpine instead of Nginx, and sh, and the name will be app1. This is our run command. Let's run it. And also yeah, let me show you how you can connect a running container to a specific network. First, we're gonna run this second container without any custom networks, and then we specify network connect command. Let me remind myself how it works. Okay, we need to first provide network name and then the container. So docker network connect, a network is custom network and the container is app2. So now if we inspect our network, we see two containers here. They both have IP address. So let's now try to attach to the first container, attach F1, and now try to ping. Well, first Google ping. Google is working. Then let's access the second container by IP address. IP address is working, and the last step is let's try to access it by the name, and the name also works. So this is why a bridge network. This is how you might use a bridge network, and so by that you might specify the name, and it will work with any traffic. I'm just using the ping command that will use HTTP request, I think, like TCP connection, but it could be anything like sockets. You might have a database running on container and connect to this connect to database using the name of the container. So there are a variety of ways, various ways you might utilize this possibility to use container names to identify the container. And in general, Docker this possibility called service name service discovery, right? You discover containers based on the name. You don't need to know any other information. That might not be permanent, because the name container is permanent option, and IP addresses might be allocated dynamically and might change upon the container restart or update. So, and now let's move to the host, and a host option, host network here. I'm gonna run Nginx container with a host network, and also on the local host I'm gonna run our application, our old image that we created a long time ago that uses Node.js Node.js application, Node.js HTTP server running on port 3000, and then I'm gonna SSH into my Nginx container and try to access applications that is running on localhost. So it should be accessible, and then I'm gonna try to access Nginx from localhost. And it will be done without specifying any publish option when running Nginx. So let's quickly do that. First, let me exit running container and kill everything else, whatever we might have here. So first, let's create app container, and I'm gonna create it with a simple docker run app latest, and I need to provide I can run this application as a standalone application without Docker, but it might be easier to use our Docker instead. And we're gonna use Docker in very default way without any networking with default network, and we need to in this case we need to publish a port explicitly. So we're publishing the port, then we provide an RM option, and I think that's it for this command. So let's run it. Oh yeah, and we also need to provide detached mode. So docker ps, let's kill this container and run it one more time with the detached option here, like so. And now maybe let's test that it's working. 3000. Here's our message. So the first step is done. Then we need to create Nginx container. Let's do that. Docker run. We're gonna run it in detached mode and also with RM flag. And network option should be host, and the name of our container is Nginx latest. Let's see, do I have it locally? Run dit rm network. I think that's fine. Yeah, and before doing that, let me show you that I don't have Nginx running locally. Curl http localhost 80. So I don't have it. So now let's run this command, and with that second step is done. And then let's try to first access Nginx and pin our application running on localhost. Docker attach. Well, we don't need to attach, we need to execute, because attach won't show us the interactive session, interactive prompt. It will show us the output of Nginx container. Default command, these commands of Nginx container. To actually be able to execute commands, we need exec command here, and then we provide interactive mode flag here, and the name of the IP address. Let's take ID of the container, and what exactly we want to execute. We want to execute bash. And okay, now we are inside our Nginx container, and we should be able to access application app. So we're gonna use a curl http localhost 80. So we are inside the container, and we're trying to curl a local host of our host machine. Okay. I should specify another port here, because application is running on port 3000. Here's the output. So this connection is working, and it won't work in case we run Nginx. It wouldn't exist here. We won't be able to run to do that if we use another option, not the host network. So this is when host network comes into play. And now let's try to access Nginx from the local machine. So we exit in the session and curl http localhost 80 will give us an Nginx default message here. So this one also works. And now let's try to check one more thing. If we list all the networks, let's try to no, actually, yeah, if we have other networks, let's try to create same scenario with for example with a bridge network, and just to show that we won't be able to access to do any of these steps in case of any other network other than host. So let me quickly kill this container. Maybe not that quickly, okay. And repeat docker run command without a network option here. So now we have our Nginx container. If we attach to it and try to try to curl. Oh, okay, we attached. We don't need to attach. We need something else. Do we have? No, we don't have it running. Let's run it one more time. And now if we execute in interactive mode, in this container we execute a bash and try to curl localhost 3000. Yeah, we won't be able to because we are inside a default bridge, not a host mode, and we also won't be able to curl HTTP localhost 80 now. Yeah, because once again we are in default bridge. So this is basically it about network configuration that I wanted to discuss, and yeah, that's it for this video.